You can carry hundreds of dollars in tackle to the water and still get outfished by someone holding one rod, a chipped bobber, and a few worms. That isn't nostalgia, and it isn't luck. Older anglers learned habits that made each cast count before better gear could rescue a bad decision. These are 10 old-school fishing lessons that still work. Number 7 can save a cast most beginners waste, and the final lesson explains why an experienced angler can return to familiar water and seem to know where the fish will be before making a single cast. Lesson 1. Let the water choose your first cast. When you arrive, don't rush to throw at the middle. Stay back and watch for 1 minute. Look for a swirl, repeated rings, tiny fish flicking at the surface, insects gathering in one area, or a bird watching one stretch of water. Those signs don't guarantee a bite, but they give your first cast a reason. If fish don't show themselves, combine quieter clues. Shade-touching weeds is more useful than shade alone. Calm water beside current is more useful than featureless current. A sudden drop beside a shallow flat gives fish 2 kinds of water within a short swim. Suppose the middle of a pond is smooth, but small rings keep appearing where shade reaches a weed edge. A leaf enters that same strip and slows down. That line now offers cover, changing light, gentle water, and visible activity. Your first cast belongs there, not in the empty center simply because it's easier to reach. You don't need to identify every ripple. You only need a better reason for casting there than somewhere else, but the best clue you find may be close enough to ruin with your next step. Lesson 2. Sneak up and fish your feet first. Beginners often walk straight to the edge and launch as far as possible. Meanwhile, nearby fish feel the footsteps, see the shadow, hear the tackle box hit the ground, and watch lines sweep over shallow water. When the bank allows it, stay several steps back. Move quietly, keep your shadow away from the target, and begin with a short cast. Fish the shade beneath your own bank, a nearby opening in the weeds, the close side of a dock, or the slow pocket beside current before stepping forward. This matters most in shallow, clear, calm water, where disturbance is difficult to hide. In deep, stained, or choppy water, fish may tolerate more commotion, but checking close still costs almost nothing. You're not assuming every fish lives beside your boots. You're protecting the first piece of fishable water before crossing it to reach the second. After that close water is tested, you can cast farther. And if the tackle box starts making the decision complicated, an older answer can simplify it again. Lesson 3. When in doubt, return to a simple bait and float rig. A hook, a little weight, a float, and legal natural bait have introduced generations of anglers to fishing for a reason. The rig is easy to understand, and it shows you what's happening. Use a worm, insect, or other bait that's legal and appropriate where you fish. Never move live bait fish between waters, and always follow local bait rules. Set the bait near cover or just above the bottom instead of burying it in weeds or mud. Make a quiet cast and watch the float. If it drifts steadily, that's the normal pattern. If it stops, tilts, twitches, slides sideways, or disappears, something changed. Even without a bite, the rig teaches you. It can reveal current, changing depth, weeds catching the bait, or small fish touching it. It isn't the perfect tool for every species or situation. It's a dependable reset when too many lure choices have turned a simple fishing problem into a shopping problem. The rig may be simple, but placing it in empty water still gives you a very clear view of nothing. Lesson 4. Fish the change, not the scenery. Old school anglers learn to notice where one kind of water meets another. That might be weeds beside open water, shade beside sunlight, shallow water dropping into depth, rock changing to mud, or fast current sliding past a calm pocket. Those boundaries give fish choices. They can rest on one side, feed on the other, and move between the two without traveling far. A branch sticking from uniform water looks dramatic, but ask what it actually changes. Does it create shade? Does the bottom drop nearby? Does current carry food past it? Are small fish gathering around it? Then choose an angle that keeps your offering near the useful change. If leaves race down one side of a current seam and slow along the other, a cast straight across the seam visits the gentle water briefly. A cast that follows the boundary keeps your bait there much longer. The same idea works beside weeds or a drop. Don't merely touch the target, travel along it. Finding the right edge brings your bait near fish. Whether it looks believable once it arrives depends on something tackle companies can't put in the package. Lesson 5. Let the water set the pace. Before anglers could buy a lure with a special action for every situation, they learned to use current, wind, and gravity. Watch a leaf, bubble, insect, or piece of debris near your target. It shows the water's speed and direction for free. Now compare your presentation. If everything natural drifts slowly while your bait races past, slow down. If tightline pulls bait out of a calm pocket, release enough tension to let it remain there while keeping enough control to detect a bite. With a float, guide the rig instead of dragging it. With a sinking lure, let it fall before beginning the retrieve. With natural bait, use only as much weight as the conditions require. Natural doesn't always mean motionless. In fast current, food can move quickly. The goal is for your offering to make sense beside whatever the fish are already seeing. On one pass, tightline pulls your bait across a current seam. On the next, lighter pressure lets it travel beside the drifting leaves. Same bait, same location. Much more believable movement. When that movement earns a follow but not a bite, the fish has given you permission to make one particular change. Lesson 6. Match the food's size before obsessing over color. Anglers matched local food long before tackle store walls offered hundreds of colors. You don't need a perfect copy of every insect or bait fish. Start with the obvious features: general size, shape, and movement. If tiny fish are flicking at the surface and predators are striking beneath them, an oversized offering may look out of place. If fish follow but turn away, or repeatedly tap the tail without reaching the hook, reduce the size by one sensible step. Keep the route, depth, and speed the same so the comparison tells you something. Suppose two casts bring fish behind a large lure. You switch to a smaller version with a similar shape and repeat the path. The next fish closes the final few inches and takes it. That doesn't mean smaller always wins. The lesson is to let visible food and fish behavior guide size before cycling through 5 nearly identical shades of green. No fish, no follow, and no tap may point back toward location. Clear interest followed by refusal earns a presentation change. Sometimes, though, the mistake has already happened. The lure landed badly, and this is where an old lesson saves the cast most beginners throw away. Lesson 7. Fish out the bad cast. Your lure lands several feet from the target. The natural reaction is to rip it back and immediately try again. That fast retrieve can splash, flash, or drag line across the very fish you wanted, and an imperfect cast can still cross useful water on its way home. Unless the hook is caught somewhere dangerous or likely to snag, settle down and retrieve it deliberately. If a float lands short of the weed edge, let it drift instead of jerking it out. If a lure lands beyond the intended spot, regain control and watch where its route crosses depth, shade, or cover. Plenty of fish are caught after casts that looked unimpressive from above the surface. Accuracy still matters, but the bad cast has already happened, and adding noise won't undo it. Finish calmly, notice what the route teaches you, and correct the next one. Eventually, one of those casts tightens the line. What happens next is where fighting harder can become the fastest way to lose. Lesson 8. When a fish runs, let the drag do its job. A properly adjusted drag gives line before your line, knot, or hook is overloaded. When a strong fish pulls line from a spinning reel, cranking harder usually doesn't bring it closer. The spool is giving line while the handle tries to recover it. That can add twist while gaining nothing. Keep the rod bent, maintain steady pressure, and let the fish run. When it slows, stops, or swims toward you, recover line smoothly. If it races toward the bank and the line goes slack, reel quickly enough to restore contact without jerking the rod wildly. If it surges away again, stop forcing the reel and return to controlled pressure. You can steer a fish away from obvious danger, but don't turn the fight into a contest your line wasn't built to win. Set the drag before fishing so it releases under firm pressure rather than being locked down or nearly free spooling. Test it safely instead of discovering the setting during the best fish of the day. Perfect pressure still can't protect a connection that was damaged before the bite. Lesson 9. Check the final few feet, the knot, and the hook. The small section closest to the fish is where the entire system often fails. After rubbing across rock, wood, dock posts, or anything rough, run your fingers carefully along the final few feet of line. If it feels scraped, flattened, fuzzy, or visibly nicked, cut above the damage and retie. Then test the knot. Keep the hook point safely away from your hand, secure the hook, and pull firmly on the main line. If the knot creeps, slips, or changes shape, tie it again. Inspect the hook after hard contact or an unexplained miss. A point that's rolled, flattened, bent sideways, cracked, or badly rusted shouldn't be trusted. Sharpen a suitable dull hook correctly, or replace a damaged one. Then return to the same route and depth that produced the bite. Don't abandon a working location because the final inch of tackle failed. Correct the weak piece and give the good decision another chance. Those 9 lessons can improve today's fishing. The final one is why an experienced angler may understand familiar water before the first cast even lands. Lesson 10. Never leave with only a fish count. Long before phones could save a location, serious anglers carried small notebooks. They didn't write only caught 5. A fish count tells you what happened, but almost nothing about why. Record the date, approximate time, weather, water clarity, type of location, depth or route, what you used, and what the fish did. 3 fish came from the shaded end of a weed line before the wind stopped is useful. Good day at the pond isn't. Fish followed a small silver lure but wouldn't take, gives you somewhere to begin next time. Nothing worked sends you back with the same questions. Record failures that taught you something too. Maybe the close water died after you stepped onto the bank. Maybe every touch came only after the bait reached deeper water. Maybe fish ignored several colors but reacted when the size changed. One entry won't reveal a secret. Repeated entries expose patterns memory tends to erase. You may discover that one bank improves when wind pushes food toward it, that fish use a particular depth during bright afternoons, or that a simple float rig saves days when moving lures find nothing. That's why an experienced angler can seem to know the water before casting. They aren't fishing only what's in front of them. They're fishing every useful clue that water gave them before. The old school advantage was never knowing every answer. It was paying attention closely enough that the same mistake didn't have to teach the same lesson twice. So on your next trip, watch before casting. Protect the close water. Keep the tackle simple. Follow useful edges and let the conditions guide the presentation. When a fish takes, trust the drag, but verify every inch connecting you to it. And when you leave, take more home than a fish count. The gear keeps changing. Those lessons still work.